Okay, so part 3, chapter 13, the Second Amendment. And now I want to go into what's the real agenda here? What's the real reason for taking and messing with all the guns and the gun rights and the misinterpretation of the Constitution on purpose and all the rest? Well, quite frankly, it's this. The liberals and the progressives and the wackadoos in this country know one thing. In order to become a socialist country, the government has to have the power. And it has to keep the power. In order for the government to obtain that kind of power over its citizens and to hold it, they have to disarm the citizens. Why? It's one of the unkept secrets of the Second Amendment. Is this. We know the reason that was given for the militia versus a standing army. We talked about that. We know about the right to protect yourself as the foundation behind the Second Amendment, that people have an inherent right to protect themselves and their family and their property. But there's an unspoken secret that everybody knows about, other reason for the Second Amendment and for people and individuals to have arms and to have citizen militias. And that's so that if our government ever got so out of control, so tyrannical, if it ever fell into despotism, we're not there yet, folks, I'm not saying that, but if it ever fell into despotism, it would be not only the right but the duty of all American citizens to overthrow the government and replace it with the government that it should be, the way the founding fathers envision it once again. And the only way to do that is if you have a well-armed citizenry. This is exactly opposite of how you get socialism. If it ever got so despotic in this country as to become socialist or communist, Americans, unlike a lot of other countries, because of their culture, would probably rise up and put it to an end. The only way they can do that is if they're armed. And the liberals know it. They know it way down deep. So there has been a long, arduous, painstaking attempt on their part to take our guns away. To take our rights of guns away. And it's, again, slippery slope politics. Drip, drip, drip. Gradual. Slowly. Convincing you one little point at a time. Oh, you don't need that big of a gun to protect yourself. Oh, you don't need a gun with that many bullets in the magazine to protect yourself. Oh, you don't need a gun to do this. You don't need a gun to do that. You don't need a gun here. You don't need a gun there. You don't need a gun on you. You don't need a gun. Drip, drip, drip. Then you look back to where we were 30, 40, 50 years ago, and you're like, how the hell did we get here? Once again. That's the goal. That's the trick. That's what you need to watch for. The funny thing about the liberals is they are so obvious today that even their slippery slope is like wide open for everyone to see. Their methods, their clumsy, ham-handed attempts at trying to do things is so obvious today, it's laughable. Every single time, some nut with a gun shoots someone in a national news story, or a mass murder, or an assassination attempt, or a whatever, before the bodies are cold, the liberals are out on the media talking about gun control. Knee jerk. reactionary, fascist liberals. Never let a crisis go to waste. Rahm Emanuel, Obama's first chief of staff. Never let a crisis go to waste. In other words, as I said, never let a bad event be wasted where you don't use it as an opportunity to advance your left-wing agenda. These people are sick and twisted, and they need to be stopped hard. The point is that every time these things happen, they want to blame the gun. They've gone through all sorts of versions of anti-gun rhetoric, such as the old classic, guns kill people, to which people with half a brain rightly responded with sarcasm and derision. If guns kill people, then forks and spoons make them fat. That kind of logic. So they've backed away maybe a little bit from that, and then they try another tack. You don't need assault rifles. What's an assault rifle? Actually, there's no such thing. It's a made-up term. It just sounds really bad. Assault rifle. It sounds mean. It sounds unnecessarily violent. And it's meant to. But it's a made-up term. Oh, but everyone's favorite rifle, the AR-15. AR, that's assault rifle. No. Dumbass. That is not what AR stands for. AR stands for the original manufacturer of the weapon, Armalite, who sold their gun, the AR-15, to Colt back in 1959. It's been a long time since Armalite made that gun, so most people, or that rifle, so most people don't know. They assume AR means assault rifle. There's no such term. Except in left-wing, dictionaries. Of course, a lot of right-wingers have started using the term, and it pisses me off. They made this damn word up, and now we're blundering into using it. An assault can be obtained, or an assault can be done with any weapon. You can use a knife and assault somebody. You can use a hacksaw and assault somebody. You can use your fists and assault somebody. Assault and battery. They don't call it an assault knife. They don't call it an assault hacksaw. They don't call them assault fists. Why is it only an assault rifle? They don't even use an assault handgun. Because they, I don't know, because of the AR on an AR-15. I have no idea, if this is really how they started thinking of it. But however it is, they made the term up. Now, of course, they went after automatic rifles. Because, God forbid, you should hold the trigger down and it shoots more than one bullet. You're not allowed to defend yourself with more than one bullet. And now, of course, they're going after semi-automatics. Well, they're going after everything. Where one move of the trigger equals one bullet leaving the chamber, or the weapon, semi-automatic. But really, they want all guns confiscated, and many of them will tell you this. That's the real end goal, folks. They don't want anybody having guns. They want to confiscate all guns so only the people in power, that they choose to be in power, have guns. So you cannot overthrow them, and that their power is secured for all time. Only the standing army, which could be used, as we said, against the citizens itself, if need be, by the federal government, can have the weapons. Or a national police force, which many have advocated for. as opposed to state and local police, or the government itself in one form or another. If that isn't exactly the opposite of what the Founding Fathers intended, I don't know what is. Then, of course, you have the lie, the great, huge, big, fat, stupid lie about how citizens having guns leads to more violence, leads to more murders, leads to more deaths, leads to more whatever, and that people cannot be trusted with them. So they've tried to regulate them. How long they can have to wait to get a gun. Does the Constitution say you have the right to wear arms following a 3-day background check? No, it does not. Remember, this is not a law, it's a right. So instead of strengthening a law, they're watering down a right. This is what they don't understand. Does the Constitution say you have the right to bear arms as long as it's a handgun and not a rifle? No, it does not. So when they make such laws, or try to make such laws anyway, they're not strengthening a federal law, they're watering down a right. Does the Constitution say that you have the right to bear arms as long as you have it hidden in a vault or a safe in your house, and you only use it when somebody is actually physically on your property, and then only if your life is in imminent danger in your mind? No, it does not. This is all a reinterpretation, a purposeful misinterpretation of the Constitution to serve left-wing agenda. They think that by making these kind of laws, they're helping save lives, that they're helping from little children accidentally getting shot by their bigger brother who's playing with the handgun. And to some extent, maybe that's correct, but that's not the job of the federal government. Job of the parents. Maybe the community if they want. But the point is, they cannot mess with this because it's not a law. It's a right. So what they're doing is not strengthening a law, it's watering down a right or a liberty. No good. No bueno. Not correct. Can't be done. And yet we're letting them do it. Let's talk about that myth about how taking away guns saves lives. We all know in our deepest heart of hearts that criminals, while they may not be educated, doesn't mean that they're necessarily stupid. With one exception, every single mass shooting has been in a place where guns have been limited. Schools, for instance, over the last number of years. The case we brought up before in a previous interview or a video about the school that was sought out in, I believe it was Washington State, the college. What they're saying, are you a Christian? Yes. This kind of thing. This was a gun-free zone, a well-documented, outspoken, no gun allowed on campus school. They went out of their way to let the entire world know we don't allow guns on this campus. And wow, what a coincidence. The bad guys went to this college. I wonder why. Could it be because they said, hey, we'll be the only ones with guns. That's pretty safe. I'm going to go there. Yeah, I think that would be a safe assumption. Schools who have security officers who are not armed. Vulnerable. So you have Columbine. And you have Sandy Hook. And you have other examples. And in a minute somebody says, hey, well, why don't you arm the security guards? Now, this isn't the same as being in a house where a kid can accidentally get the gun and shoot his baby brother. No, this is a trained security officer, security guard with a gun. But, oh, no, we can't have guns in a school. Little kids run around. Okay, so what you're basically saying is it's okay for bad guys to come into school and shoot the young kids, but it's not okay for a security guard to help protect them around the young kids. It's not about the kids, folks. No matter how much they say, what about the children? What about the children? It's not about the children. It's about keeping guns out of citizens' hands. Citizens like security guards, for instance. In fact, gun-free zones have proven to be the worst possible idea in this regard ever. And it's like obvious on its face. All you have to do is look at cities that have gun-free zones. The most strict gun-free city in the country is Chicago. And Chicago has the dubious honor of being one of the worst war zones and gang-infested murder capital of the country. And they sit there and wonder why. Every reason under the sun other than the fact that they're a gun-free zone. They just cannot connect this dot. Will not connect this dot. I'm telling you, folks, you got to be a special kind of stupid to not understand how this works. So let's look at the statistics. You know, facts don't lie. Facts, however, are like kryptonite to Superman. Facts are like kryptonite to liberals. They don't like them because almost every time someone starts bringing up facts, they work against liberals. So they don't tend to do that, although cherry pick them. But they cherry pick them because if they had told you all of the facts, it wouldn't look so good. But what's interesting is, before we get into the statistics, what's interesting is some of the loudest opponents to gun rights, or the loudest proponents, let's say, for gun control, are people who themselves don't follow the rules that they're making for other people. And of course, I'm talking once again about liberals in Hollywood. You know, it seems to always keep coming back to the Hollywood people, but they are the greatest hypocrites in the country today. They represent the biggest joke anyone can find when it comes to politics. And they once again step in it like they do with everything else that they talk about, whether it's global warming while they're riding jet planes or all the rest of it. The hypocrisy is no less rampant in the celebrity world than in any other with any other issue. How many celebrities can you think of who rail day after day about guns and wanting gun control, have armed bodyguards? There's a lot of them. How many of them make movies where they themselves make millions of dollars in movies where they themselves are wielding a gun, trying to be badass superheroes or you know, agents, undercover agents, or detectives or cops? And then they go out and rail against the cops in real life. How many of them make millions of dollars in movies, even if they themselves aren't holding a gun, where you've got lots of guns and gunfire and all this other action-adventure stuff going on? And then they reel in the cash and then go out and complain about guns. The hypocrisy is quite palpable, and it's a joke. It's okay for me, but not for thee. Well, they act like they're royalty. because eventually they want to have a tyrannical government, top down, socialist type government, where you've got the haves and the have-nots, the royalty and the peasants. Well, this is one peasant that's going to tell you about statistics in the last part 4, coming up next.